Praise the Most High God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and peace to everybody that's here in the name of Jesus. Peace to everybody that's listening on the phone line and tuning in on the internet. I'm actually not sure if Philadelphia is listening on the internet or if Ryan giving a lesson. His flight got delayed. Ryan back there? Oh, okay. I saw he called me. I'm gonna get Ryan. I'm gonna fire Ryan. I'm gonna do one of the buoy numbers. He had me worried a little bit. His plane was delayed. I talked to him about 8 o'clock. Said, Ryan, check and make sure if you can get out on time and call me back. I ain't heard from Ryan since then. So we've been wondering what they gonna do in Philly. And his phone wasn't on, but that's good to know. So I know now that Philadelphia is online watching us. So how y'all doing? Ryan is back here. We're going to get him later. But at any rate, of course, you know, we've been having some bad weather. Had a little bad weather. We still had service last night with the bad weather and all. Because like I said last night, bad weather ain't never stopped me from going to a party. Not one time. Never, ever. I don't never remember a party getting canceled because of weather. Can you? Say it's too cold to go over there. Snow or whatever it was, we still went. So that's how it is when it comes to the Lord. If at all possible, you know, we're going to do what the Lord said do, take care of the Lord's business. So we're here to do that. And last night we dealt with just deception, period, that you got to look out and beware for deception. And that's the number one thing that people need to realize. The Bible, from Genesis to Revelation, is full of warnings about deception. Even from church people, from preachers, from prophets. It's warning you of that from Genesis to Revelation. It's telling you. Beware, beware. Deception is running rampant, and we know it even abounds now. So that's what we dealt with last night. But today, just to kind of follow that up, because if you can get past the deception that's around you, your real worst enemy is an old saying, your worst enemy is who? Yourself. You got to get past your own self. Because your own self really want to commit suicide and get you put in a lake of fire. So even if you don't let the false prophet lead you to the lake of fire with his false teaching, you still got to worry about yourself leading you there. That's your number one priority. So we're going to deal with that today. And the title is, Watch Out. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. And this is amazing that you got people full of church. They're going to be full of church tomorrow, which is Sunday. They're going to be full of church, and they don't know how dire a situation that they in when it comes to striving to get salvation. They don't even know that they're in a battle. They don't talk about the flesh being weak and you got to strive, because nobody's telling you got to do anything anyway. They'd have done away with God's law, so they really don't have much to tell you that you got to do or not do. Some of them make up some stuff. They say, well, women shouldn't wear makeup and, you know, you shouldn't go to the movies. But most of them saying, just believe on Christ. So this wouldn't even apply. And they make you think Jesus did it all and you don't have to do nothing. Look, Jesus did what he had to do to give us a chance. And even at a point in Jesus doing what he had to do, he himself had a hard time. He himself is the one that made the statement about the spirit is willing, but the flesh being weak. So this is right out the Bible like everything else. Let's read it. Matthew 26. Watch out. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. So you got to be on top of your game when it comes to striving to get salvation. All the time. Even, I said before, even when you sleep. I done been getting ready to commit fornication in a dream. I ain't gonna lie. I done been getting ready to commit fornication in the dream, and I had to make a choice in the dream. I could say yay or nay in the dream. So, hey, Satan is on you all the time. So you got to stay on top of it. That's the bottom line. And Jesus knew this. Said, watch out. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. Anytime you say watch out, we know what that means, right? We know we got to be on the lookout for something. So again, hey, if you can get past the false prophet, your next top priority got to be yourself. That's why sometimes people come in, they say, well, so-and-so, and I seen so-and-so, and this person. Look, you got to worry about yourself. Because the Lord going to deal with so-and-so. Matthew 26, verse 41. One verse. Go ahead, brother.
Watch and pray, that ye enter not into temptation. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak.
Now, this is a direct quote from the Bible, from Jesus himself. A lot of people say they believe in him. But they don't believe they have to be on guard. The preacher don't tell people that. Matter of fact, that's one of the worst doctrines on the map, false doctrines, and that is that you saved. Because if you tell me I'm saved, no, I don't have to watch out, do it. I don't have to worry about that. Watch out for what? I'm saved. I ain't got to watch out. But now, that can't be true if Jesus is telling us this. That you better be on the lookout for this, right? He said, watch and pray. Watch and pray that you enter not into temptation. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak. So you can, this is what let me know a long time ago, you can really sincerely be trying and wanting to do the right thing and still mess up. That's why you really got to be on top of this thing, right? You can really be trying and still mess up. Stuff will just sneak up on you. Just like you had a situation with David. David was a man after God's own heart. I know he was trying to serve the Lord. But next thing you know, he was walking on his roof, probably wasn't even looking for nothing. Probably. I don't know for sure. I wasn't there. But probably being that he a man after, he not just sitting there contemplating all the time about committing adultery, right? If he a man after God's own heart, he know God's commandments that said don't commit adultery. So I don't think he was contemplating that every day of his life. Oh, I can't wait till I get with her. No, I don't think he was doing that. But still, he happened to be walking on his roof and he seen a woman bathing and he was in trouble. Just like that. So this is what Jesus is telling us. We got to be on the lookout. Now go to 1 Corinthians 16. Let's see if Paul knew about it. People like to quote Paul over Jesus. They take his word over Jesus. Jesus don't mean nothing to some people when they come to quoting scripture. They say he the Savior, but they're going to take Paul's scripture over his. They ain't going to even read nothing Jesus said. But we got it concrete out the Bible. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak. What does that mean anyway? The spirit is willing and the flesh is weak. We talking, you got basically a split personality. You got a split personality. When you find out about God, you will know what right is and what you need to do, and you still got to contend with that other you that still would like to do maybe what it used to do or even some stuff that seem good now, but you know it's wrong. You got to contend with that and fight against that. But now, 1 Corinthians 16. 1 Corinthians 16. We're going to read one verse here, verse 13. Let's see if Paul knew about watching out. That's what Jesus said, watch and pray, right? 13, go ahead.
Watch ye.
See, now Paul said watch too, didn't he? If you watch it, that means you're on the lookout for something, right? And this lookout, what Jesus was talking about and what Paul talking about is talking about your own self. You got to keep an eye on your own self. Your own self will sneak out the back door on you. You be like, where he go? He done went to left field. Watch ye, he said, right? Do what?
Stand fast in the faith.
Oh, you got to stand fast in the faith. Faith won't just save you by itself, right? You got to stand fast in the faith. What else?
Quiet you like men.
Uh-huh.
Be strong.
Oh, he said, quit you like men, right? Be strong. What do you mean, quit you? You can't be like everybody else. You can't be behaving like everybody around you. That's what get a lot of people in trouble. How many times kids say, well, so-and-so did it. So-and-so do it. They do it. They mother them let them do it. Look, quit you like men. Don't be like everybody else. Just like my mother, and I know y'all heard, my mother used to tell me all the time, if so-and-so jumped in the lake, you going to do that? Well, that's what people are doing. They trying to jump in the lake of fire. So he said, watch ye, stand fast in the faith, quit you like men, be strong. 2 Peter 2. 2 Peter 2. 2 Peter 2. And we're going to pick it up at verse 1 and skip a little bit. This kind of going to go with what we dealt with last night. Deception, deception, deception. It abounds in religion. That was what we dealt with last week, where even here Peter is warning about some deception. Even though we're not here to read that, we just going to lead into what we're talking about. But it goes with what we dealt with last night. 2 Peter 2 and 1. 2 Peter 2 and verse 1. Okay, go ahead.
But there were false prophets also among the people, even as there shall be false teachers among you.
Oh, it was false. He talking about in the old days, it was false prophets, which we touched on last night. And he didn't think it was done, since the New Testament came, we ain't got to worry about that no more. He said there was false prophets among the people, even as there shall be false teachers among you. And we can say the same thing. It was false teachers among Peter now, and the people he was preaching to, and his false preachers, reverends, doctors, whatever you want to call them, among you today. Same difference. Go ahead.
Who privately shall bring in damnable heresy, even denying the Lord that brought them, and bring upon themselves swift destruction.
See, he said they going to bring in some false doctrine, damnable stuff, damnable heresy, making garbage up, making doctrine up, false teaching, but they going to pay for it in the end. And that's what he got to, and he started giving examples on how people have paid in the past. So we're going to skip to verse 4, because that's what he's talking about now. They're going to pay for it in the end. All of them going to pay. And as an example that they're going to pay, he started telling us how God paid people in the past. He going to get you. See, we know the world is about to get got now. We know the world is about to end. God going to have to put an end to all this foolishness in the world. He going to have to. It's not going to go on like this much longer. He going to do it, believe it or not. So that's why we want to be on the right side of the fence at that time. Verse 4.
For if God spared not the angels that sinned, but cast them down to hell.
Oh, if he spared not the angels that sinned. Who is that? Satan and his crew. He didn't spare them. Kicked them out of heaven, cast them down to this hell is the earth that he's talking about right here. Because they on the earth in a hell position compared to being in heaven. He cast them down to hell. That's why he was in the Garden of Eden. And the Lord warned. He didn't leave Adam without a warning. He said, he gave him some instruction. That's why I say the warning about deception was from the beginning. He told Adam, don't get this information from this individual. Don't eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Couldn't have been an apple. So from the beginning, but that's because he had cast Satan out of heaven, and Satan was now on the earth. And that's what he's talking about here. But cast them down to hell and did what?
And delivered them into chains of darkness.
And he put them in chains of darkness. Go ahead.
To be reserved unto judgment.
See, he's waiting on judgment, though. Go ahead a little further.
And spared not the old world, but saved Noah and the eighth person.
See, this example, too. He gave an example about how, so he showed you, look, God don't play. He kicked the angels out of heaven. You know God don't play. Angels much more powerful than us. He said, get out. Kick them out. Then turn around, show that God don't play. This is the example he used to show he going to get these false prophets. We know he's going to get them. They're at the head of God's list. Because they the problem. You got most all the other problems. So the second exhibit B he given, he said, verse 5, and spared not the old world, but what?
But saved Noah, the eighth person.
Saved Noah, the eighth person. It was 8 people, including Noah. Go ahead.
A preacher of righteousness.
Noah was a preacher, and people didn't listen, did they? That's why we're not shocked that majority of people won't listen to us. Go ahead.
Bringing in the flood upon the world of the ungodly.
And he brought the flood on the world of the ungodly. Killed them all. Only 8 people escaped. Verse 6, here's another exhibit C. Go ahead.
And turning the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah into ashes. condemning them with an overthrow, making them an example unto those that after should live ungodly.
See, then he turned around and destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah years later. After he had already flooded the earth, he destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah and all the suburbs and towns around them because they had got totally wicked. See, that shows you how merciful God is. He will see that you wicked, and he would say, I'm just going to see how far you're going to go with it. Perhaps you might change. See, that's why God don't come bust nobody head right away a lot of times. You be thinking, well, I must be okay. He ain't bust my head. Nah, I'll keep on going. When you get there, he going to bust your head. He said, come on down here where I can bust you. If you don't make it, you'll be okay. But as soon as you get to the line, I'm going to bust your head. That's how God will do it. So Sodom and Gomorrah was wicked beyond measure, and finally God overthrew them, making them an example unto those that should after live ungodly. And we know we're at the same point in this world. We know it's about to end. We're at the same point. Wickedness abounds, don't it? False prophets abound. You got them all over the place. Just operating without any care or fear at all. How you say operating with impunity? They don't even have no problem. They just lie through their teeth without a problem. So we know the world is about to end. Just like even the government starting to pass laws that's totally contrary to God, that they didn't even used to go for. You better not be talking about a same-sex marriage in this country 50 years ago. Better not be talking about it. But now it's okay, right? Something is wrong with that. They say you ain't supposed to be preaching about it. Look, it's in the Bible. We're going to preach the Bible. We just reading the Bible. Sodom and Gomorrah did the same thing. Tried to sleep with some angels. They were so slow. Didn't even realize they was angels. But lust had got beyond themselves. So that was an example. But what happened in Sodom and Gomorrah? What else happened there? Verse 7.
And delivered just Lot, vexed with the filthy conversation of the wicked.
See, now, he destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, but he spared, just like he saved Noah from the flood, he saved Lot and tried to save his whole family, but his wife had some issues, evidently. So he saved Lot and his 2 daughters. He delivered just Lot, vexed with the filthy conversation of the wicked. See, Lot had to put up with all that filthiness. But in the end, he delivered them because Lot managed to keep the faith. And that's what we got to do. We're in the same predicament, right? In a wicked, backwards world, we got to still maintain our integrity with God. We got to still, even though you get vexed. People say, oh, they vexed at Christmas. Now, look, you vexed all the time in this world. Can't get away from it. Vexed when you send your kids to school. Vexed when they come home. Vexed going in and coming out. Can't stay in the house because you're going to be vexed when you turn on the TV. You go out, you're going to see some foolishness out in the world. So, well, that's the way Lot was. Go ahead, verse 8.
For the righteous man dwelling among them, and seeing and hearing, vex his righteous soul from day to day with their unlawful deeds.
See, that's how Lot was. See, we're in the same predicament. So that's even makes it worse when you're trying to keep yourself in line because everything around you is bogus. It's contrary to God. That makes it more of a challenge. But you can do it. Lot did it, right? Go ahead.
The Lord knows how to deliver the godly out of temptation.
See, the Lord knows how to deliver the godly out of temptation. So long as you watching out, fighting a good fight, you can make it. But you got to do that, right? The Lord knoweth how to deliver the godly out of temptation and do what else, though?
To reserve the unjust until the day of judgment to be punished.
See, he know how to get you out of temptation so you can be saved. And he also know how to reserve the wicked, the unjust, until the day of judgment so they can get their punishment. He know how to do them both, don't he? Go ahead, verse 10.
But chiefly them that walk after the flesh in the lust of uncleanness and despise government. Presumptuous are they, self-willed. They are not afraid to speak evil of dignity.
See, he got back to them false prophets, but he said that's what they do. They walking in the flesh. After the flesh in the lust of unclean. That's the way everything around you is. But you got to avoid walking in the flesh. Didn't Jesus warn you, though? He said, You got to be careful. Watch and pray. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. So you could be a true servant of God, doing what you're supposed to do today, and if you're not careful, like Jesus is saying, you can slip into some foolishness real easy, right? That's the warning that he's given us. And people haven't heard that. Go to Romans 7. That's why that's one of the worst doctrines on the planet. You saved. Since I got saved and I'm saved. Look, you ain't saved if you got to be careful because the spirit is willing but the flesh is weak. You can't be saved. Your flesh can still get you thrown into the lake of fire. The best you can be is saved from what you used to do, and now you know you got to watch out and stay on that path. That's the best you can be saved from. You got away from your past, but now you still got to fight the fight. You still got a race to run. So you ain't finished that. Romans 7 and verse 12. But the people in the average church, they don't have a chance yet because they don't even know what they're supposed to be about. They done away with the ingredient that's going to help you fight a good fight. That's going to help you maintain walking in the spirit and avoid your lust of the flesh. They done away with that, and that's the law, because they say the law. Tomorrow, that's all they're going to be saying. You don't need the law. The law done away with. Just believe on Christ. Look, if you believed on Christ, you would believe the scripture we read in Matthew 26, verse 41, telling you to watch out for your flesh, right? Romans 7 and 12. Go ahead.
Wherefore the law is holy, and the commandment holy, and just and good.
See, they want to do away with this. But how can you do away with something that God has said is holy? And even in your New Testament, Paul, the one that people like to quote a few lines of, Paul is telling us that is holy. This is the New Testament. And people talk about the law like it got a tail. Oh, that old law wasn't no good. You can't keep it. It's 600 some laws. You can't keep them laws. Law is no good. Look, Paul said the law is holy. And you got a holiness church and you done away with everything in the law? Something not right with that. How you going to call yourself a holiness church and everything that the Bible says holy, you done away with? The Bible said keep the Sabbath day to make it holy the seventh day. You just scrap that and you go on the first day, holiness church. The Bible said keep the dietary law. This will tell that you are walking in holiness. You say, oh, you can eat anything, just pray. Like I said last night, brothers and sisters, when you get through, they don't even have no Bible. They should be ashamed to have the Bible in the average church. Get rid of the Bible. Quit fronting. Put your little verse up there that you just want to quote. Just get rid of the Bible. You just need a piece of paper. That should be their Bible, a piece of paper. But Paul said, wherefore the law is holy, and the commandment holy, just, and good. And nothing wrong with that, is it? See, that's the mark of achievement. You got to be striving to keep the law, brothers and sisters. Go ahead, 13.
Was then that which is good made death unto me?
See, now he pointed out. He said, is it the law fault? The good law. Is it the good law fault that I end up dying? Is that what made death unto me? You know, because that's what people try to do. They try to blame the law. That whole law wasn't no good. That's why I'm glad God did away with that law. Oh, thank God for Jesus. We don't need no law. See, that's the attitude people have, but they backwards. Paul knew that. He said, was then that which is good made death unto me? In other words, is it the good law fault? He just told you it's holy, just, and good. What's the answer to that?
God forbid.
God forbid. No, it's not the good law fault. That which is good wasn't the problem. Back to what the lesson is about. Who the problem? You the problem. We all the problem, right? Go ahead.
But sin, that it might appear sin, working death in me by that which is good, that sin by the commandment might become exceedingly sinful.
See, we sin. That's the problem. When sin is breaking the law, we broke the law. It's not the law's fault. We broke the law. We sinned. And the law just pointed out to you. The law is good. Go ahead.
For we know that the law is spiritual.
Oh, the law is even spiritual. People want to say, oh, they so spiritual in church tomorrow. They so spiritual, but they done away with the law. Something ain't right with that. For we know that the law is spiritual. This is how you walk in the spirit, the law. You can't be perfect according to the law because you already broke it. So that couldn't save you in and of itself. but you got to walk in the spirit of the law so Jesus can save. He can see, he said, okay, well, at least they changed. They committed some atrocity in the past. They repented, and they start walking in the spirit of the law. They start keeping it. I'm going to save them. I'm going to justify them for that. So just by you keeping the law won't save you in and of itself if it don't be for Jesus. We can forget it, right? But being that Jesus died, and now we repent and start keeping the holy law, which is just and good, we can be saved because we keeping our mind spiritual. That's what he said. He said the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. So you can have a mindset today to be walking in the spiritual law, but if you're not careful, tomorrow you'll be walking in your flesh. Go ahead.
For we know that the law is spiritual.
But what about us?
But I am carnal, sold under sin.
See, naturally, we are carnal. Naturally, we are. That's fleshly. But we got to get away from that, don't we? We can't stay carnal. Paul didn't stay carnal. He's just speaking from a natural standpoint. The Bible said naturally, and the Bible said we was born in sin. And in iniquity were we shapen. So we was molded as sinful people, but we find out about the Lord. We get away from that and start walking in the Spirit. That's where repentance come in at. So he said, but I am carnal, sold under sin. 15. And again, you got to be careful that you don't go back to being carnal just like that. It'll happen in an instant. Go ahead.
For that which I do, I allow not. For what I would, that do I not. But what I hate, that do I.
See, Paul says, from now on, when you get the word in you, even if you mess up, you wasn't trying to do it. And you should regret doing it. Even if you mess up, you should regret doing it. See, this is what Paul is saying. And you got to keep fighting that fight until the end. He said, for that which I do, I allow not. For what I would, that do I not. Paul said, look, I find myself doing something that I didn't want to do. So in other words, he's doing everything he can to walk in the law, which people want to do away with it. Something's wrong with that. He said, but what I hate, that do I. It's just like somebody can make you mad, and you know you're trying to be a servant of God, but all of a sudden you make a wrong statement. You say something crazy to him, and now you should feel bad about that because you shouldn't have did that. Because who are you? Now you done got yourself, you done lifted yourself out of place and have sinned. So he said, what I hate, that do I. 16.
If then I do that which I would not, I consent unto the law that it is good.
See, now you consent unto the law. And everybody need to do this. This is the way everybody got to come if you're going to get salvation. You need to realize that the law is good, and you need to be gearing your mind around that. Even when you out of line with it. See, that's the problem. A lot of times, people try to fix it where they not wrong. You know, you can mess up, and you say, well, you know, Lord, understand. No, you was wrong. Just admit that and get that together. That's what Jesus warning you about. He said, watch out. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. Jesus was experiencing it himself because he knew from the day he was on this earth, from the day he could start retaining anything, that he had to die and be a sin offering. He knew that, and then all of a sudden, him being God in the beginning, walking this earth, knowing all the time that he had to die, got to the point where he said, I don't want to die. He said, boy, this is something else. What kind of stuff is this? He knew he had to die. All of a sudden, he'd have a second thought, wait a minute, hold on, wait. Maybe we do something else, Father. So he knew, he was experiencing right then how that flesh would turn on you. Any means necessary, the flesh would turn on you. So he experienced that. So this is what Paul talking about. He said, but then if I do that which I would not, I consent unto the law that it is good. Go ahead, 17.
Now then, it is no more I that do it, but sin that dwelleth in me.
See, he's saying it's not him that do it, even though it is him. But he said, look, I'm not doing it on purpose. In other words, kind of like Jesus said, it's like it's two different people. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. But it still is all you, right? Like I said, you got a split personality. You got one that know to do good, and you still got to deal with this other side of you that will try to sneak out the back door. So as long as you keep them at bay and you acknowledging that the law is good. That's what Paul is saying. There's no more I that do it, but sin that dwelleth in me. So, but you ain't going to be able to get away with it and say, Lord, that wasn't really me to curse that dude out. That was the other one. That wasn't me. But what he's saying is you acknowledging that, look, you don't want to do that. I didn't even intend to do that. Sometimes you can make a statement, you could think a thought that you shouldn't even thought. You could think a thought. And you out of pocket with that. Go ahead, 18.
For I know that in me, that is in my flesh.
See, that's what he's talking about, in his flesh. In his natural mindset. I know that in me, that is in my flesh. In his natural mindset. When you get your mind off the holy, just law, you in a natural mindset. I know that in me, that is in my flesh, dwelleth what?
Dwelleth no good thing.
No good thing. Go ahead.
For to will is present with me.
Uh-huh.
But how to perform that which is good, I find not.
See, and he ain't talking about all the time. He just talking about he have to deal with it. He ain't talking about he just doing stuff wrong all the time. He just letting it be known this is not a cakewalk. And we got a fight on our hands. Just like Jesus told us in the first scripture. We got a battle. Go ahead.
19.
Mm-hmm.
For the good that I would, I do not.
Uh-huh.
But the evil which I would not, that I do.
See, sometimes, like we got an intention to do a whole lot of good. I'll be upset because we get all kind of letters from people, brothers, mostly brothers, in prison. I can't even answer them all. Can't even answer them all. I'll be upset at myself. That's some good that I would like to do. I started writing a brother a month ago on the airplane, on the computer, coming back from Philadelphia and just finished about 3 days ago. I was upset about that. That's something I wanted to do, but it can't end up not doing it because of other stuff coming in. So he said, for the good that I would, I do not. But the evil which I would not, that I do. Then turn around and doing something that you know you don't want to do. Go ahead.
20. For if I do that I would not, it is no more I that do it, but sin that dwelleth in me.
He's saying the same thing because he's striving to do the right thing now. He know what he's supposed to be about. So even if he had a foolish thought, like I said before, brother told me before, he didn't understand this. He tried to really make it okay to have foolish thoughts. No, the Lord told you. Even when you think it, you've already committed to sin. So he gave me an analogy. He sit there and he said, brother, you trying to tell me. I mean, he was in the word before me. And now he lost his mind, probably because of that. He tried to tell me, he said, brother, you trying to tell me if I go in the store, I mean, he got serious with it. If I go in the store and I see the leather jacket, and I said, I can steal that leather jacket, but I don't steal it. You try to tell me how to see it. I said, yes, you have. It's good you didn't go all the way with it, but you got a foolish mindset. Shouldn't even think like that. Shouldn't even had a thought like that. But because you probably done it before, some of that old fleshly mindset is creeping back in. That's what you got to avoid. So that's what he's talking about. Go ahead.
21.
Mm-hmm.
I find in the law that when I would do good, evil is present with me.
See, go ahead.
For I delight in the law of God after the inward man.
Somebody need to tell the people in church how Paul really felt about the law.
Right.
I delight in the law of God after the inward man. That's when he in the spirit. The inward man is the mind, in that right mindset. But he know he got a battle on his hand. Didn't Jesus know he had a battle? Jesus said, you better watch and pray. He wasn't the disciples. They was nodding off. He said, look, y'all better stay on top of this thing. This ain't no cake. This ain't no game. Better stay on top of it. See, you can't get relaxed. You can't think you saved. That's the easiest way for you to get pickpocketed is being relaxed, right? See, when I'm in crowds that go everywhere, I'll be watching. Matter of fact, a long time ago, I stopped keeping my wallet in my back pocket. I don't keep it in my back. Ain't nobody going to bump me and take my wallet. So, but if you relax, that's how you will get got in anything, right? So that's why Satan is clever with this doctrine in the average church. Oh, you saved. Like I said, when I went to a Baptist church, I had the hardest time trying to figure out how I knew I was saved. Other people say, you saved now. I said, I am. Okay. I couldn't figure it out. Now I know why though. He said, look, but I delight in the law of God after the inward man. But on the other hand, verse 23.
I see another law in my members, warring against the law of my mind.
Oh, he see that fleshly mindset. Another law in his members, he calling it. That's the fleshly mind, the weak side of you. I see another law in my members doing what?
Bringing me into captivity to the law of sin, which is in my members.
See, it's a war going on even in your mind. You have to, as my daughter said last night about winter, you have to embrace it. You have to embrace it. You have to realize what's going on. Because you try to act like, oh, no, it ain't going on. Nah, I'm okay. No, you have to embrace it and realize that that's the way it's supposed to be. Now you can deal with it. You can stay on top of it. You can say, okay, yeah, I'm crazy on it. I'm really crazy deep down inside, so I got to keep that crazy side in check. Embrace it. Go ahead.
Oh, wretched man that I am.
See what Paul, he embraced it, didn't he? He said, deep down, I know I ain't going to lie to you. I'm a wretched man. Who I'm fooling? I ain't going to try to fool myself. He said, oh, wretched. You know what wretched means? Wretched means really you twisted and pulled. You pulled between two ways. You know you need to go the right way, but then it's a part of you trying to go this way. You got some issues. Just embrace it so you can overcome it. Go ahead.
Who shall deliver me from the body of this death?
Go ahead.
I thank God through Jesus Christ our Lord.
Uh-huh.
So then with the mind, I myself serve the law of God.
Oh, he was serving the law of God. Go ahead.
But with the flesh, the law of sin.
See, but then if he had a fleshly episode, he knew that was the flesh. He wasn't trying to do it. See, at least he could say he knew at this point he wasn't going out willingly, just doing stuff willy-nilly like he used to. He knew better. But now, that's an example. 2 Chronicles 18, we're going to get a real live example from one of the great servants of God in the Old Testament. This was one of the kings of Judah, Jehoshaphat, and he was really a good man. He knew the law, and he was doing what he could to keep it. Doing real good. As a matter of fact, the Bible got a good testimony about him. We're going to read it. 2 Chronicles 18, but we're going to see he had to contend with his own issues. 2 Chronicles 18. See, that's why Jesus knew. He's like, watch and pray. That's why the title is, watch out. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. 2 Chronicles 18:1. Go ahead.
Now Jehoshaphat had riches and honor and abundance and joined affinity with Ahab.
Now Jehoshaphat, he's a good king over the two tribes of Judah. Because the nation is split, and he was over the two tribes in Judah, and this other guy, Ahab, was over the 10 tribes in Samaria. So they hooked up. The Lord had blessed Jehoshaphat immensely. He had riches and honor and abundance, and he joined affinity with Ahab, a bad move. Because Ahab is wicked. See, it don't matter if we physical brothers. If we ain't on the spiritual plane together, there's going to be a problem. I can't, even though we physical brothers, maybe we can talk about the football game, we can talk about something, but look, I can't go in no venture with you. I can't join affinity with you. You know, like people say, well, this is a church here, and you got a church over there. Baptist church right here. Kitty corner to us. So they might come to us and say, look, you know, we two churches, and it's bad in the community. People need shelter. They need food. You know, can we set up a little shelter together? We can work together, and we can make this happen. Do it for Gary. Do it for the people. No. That's going to be the answer. No. We can't do it. Because you got bad teaching. Ultimately, you leading people to hell. So that ain't going to offset whatever good we could potentially do. And then it ain't going to happen anyway, because God going, because we know better, and he going to be mad for hooking up with somebody that's leading people to hell and ain't telling them the word of God. He going to be mad. Well, that's what Jehoshaphat was doing here. He hooked up with Ahab. Verse 2. Go ahead.
After certain years, he went down to Ahab to Samaria.
Uh-huh.
And Ahab killed sheep and oxen for him in abundance.
Uh-huh.
And for the people that he had with him.
Mm-hmm.
And persuaded him to go up with him to Ramoth Gilead.
Now look. So he went down and even visited Ahab in Samaria. And Ahab threw a party for him. He said he laid it out. Ahab killed sheep and oxen for him in the, you know, he's like, my brother. They like old-time buddies coming together. And for all, he brought his entourage. You know, he's a king now, so they know how to do it anyway, right? Then when he got down there, Ahab wanted to do something else. See, it never stopped with that. The Lord ain't going to let it stop. The Lord going to see how far you going to go. You might say, well, I'm just going to go over here and say hi. I ain't going to really get, then something else going to go down. So he persuaded him to go up with him to Ramoth Gilead. So in other words, he getting him to go fight with these people. Go ahead, verse 3.
And Ahab, king of Israel, said unto Jehoshaphat, king of Judah, Wilt thou go with me to Ramoth Gilead?
Go ahead.
And he answered him, I am as thou art, and my people as thy people, and we will be with thee in the war.
See, now, that was Jehoshaphat's mistake. He going this far with this guy. He said, man, we brothers, man. I'm with you. My people is your people. We in this together. And that sounds good. Just like some people, you know, you got this, people talking about it's a black thing, and blacks need to come together. Look, we can't get together just because you black. Go ahead.
Verse 4. And Jehoshaphat said unto the king of Israel, Inquire, I pray thee, at the word of the Lord today.
See, no, but Jehoshaphat, he still, remember now, Jehoshaphat is a servant of God. He ain't stupid. He is servant of God, and he said, look, I'm with you. We're going to go into this thing, but I tell you what, I would like you to do something for me. Inquire, let's seek the Lord on this before we go. I like to do that before I go into anything. Well, if he should have sought the Lord before he went down there visiting this dude, because this dude was bogus. But he still, you know, better late than never. He said, okay, let's seek the Lord on this venture. At the word of the Lord, seek and pray. I pray thee, inquire at the word of the Lord today, verse 5.
The king of Israel gathered together of prophets 400 men, and said unto them, Shall we go up to Ramoth Gilead to battle, or shall I forbear? And they said, Go up, for God will deliver it into the king's hand.
So now, you know, the king of Israel, oh man, no problem. I got some prophets right around the corner. See, but they on this payroll. That's why they came just like that. All of them in unison. How many? Oh, I mean, that seemed like you definitely got to be right. Just like right now. If I say, look, we're going to do something, it could be wrong. Just like if I say, look, we're going to hook up with the Baptist church over there and do something after I'd already been preaching against it. But we're going to hook up with them. And then I say, but, you know, I sought the Lord on it, and here come 400 guys going to verify, and they come in. I mean, that's some strong backup, right? 400 people come in here and say, yeah, go ahead. That's a good thing to do, brother. Look, something wrong with that. So now, that's what happened. But Jehoshaphat even smarter than that. But they told him, go up to battle. The Lord is with you. He's going to deliver it into your hand. Verse 6.
But Jehoshaphat said, Is there not here a prophet of the Lord, besides that we might inquire of him?
See, Jehoshaphat, he wasn't dumb. He said, look, he had a witness of 400, but they all came together. They really just represent one. Because they came in the door at the same time. See, that's just one. Okay, that's good. I hear them. But then you got one more from a different direction. And you give me one more, because the Lord said in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses. Even though it's 400, he saw they was operating together. They all getting paid by the king. That's just like if the president in this country, if he called a bunch of preachers together, they're going to say whatever he wants. They're going to be glad to be going to the White House, first of all. And they're going to be on board with whatever he's saying. They're going to be standing behind him. And he's going to be making a speech. This is what we're going to do. And these ministers here, they're going to help me with it. They done signed on. They're going to all be nodding. But if somebody said, President Obama, do you got another preacher from some other direction that would co-sign what you're saying? He better not come over here. But now look, the bottom line, he got 400 that went along. Jehoshaphat said, bring one more, right? Go ahead, verse 7.
And the king of Israel said unto Jehoshaphat, There is yet one man by whom we may inquire of the Lord.
He said, he know he can inquire to the Lord with this guy. This guy known to be a prophet, but, go ahead.
But I hate him.
For
he never prophesied good unto me, but always evil.
Maybe you have some evil coming, though. See, he said, there's one more guy, but I hate to even call this dude. This dude, he ain't on my side at all. Because he wasn't going to lie. See, this king that got 400 on his side, don't matter how many, is wicked. That's the bottom line to this. You can read his pedigree. In the Bible says he was wicked. Matter of fact, he's the one that married Jezebel, a wicked woman. So he was wicked and his wife was a wicked prophetess. They was both wicked. So it wasn't nothing good to be said about this guy. And at this time, the Lord was finished with him. Like I said earlier, Ahab had made it to that point where he was about to get his head bust. He had made it to that line. The Lord said, come on down here, Ahab. Come on right over here. This is enough. I'm getting ready to bust your head. Now, isn't this something? He didn't made it to the point the Lord getting ready to deal with him. Jehoshaphat is really in the wrong place at the wrong time. This show you about hooking up with the wrong people. That's what's going on here. So he said, look, there's one more guy I can call him, but I hate him. Well, he ain't never got nothing good to say about me but evil. Who is that?
The same is Micaiah, the son of Imlah. And Jehoshaphat said, let not the king say so.
See, he set it up and let it be known. This guy just didn't like him. So Jehoshaphat said, man, come on, don't say that. Let's see what he got to say. If he a prophet, let's listen to him. Verse 8.
And the king of Israel called for one of his officers and said, fetch quickly Micaiah, the son of Imlah. And the king of Israel and Jehoshaphat, king of Judah, sat either of them on his throne, clothed in their robes. And they said, and they sat in a void place at the entering in the gates of Samaria. And all the prophets prophesied before them.
Oh, so now they went to get the real prophet, because the 400 liars. So they went to get the real prophet, and while they went to get the real prophet, they sitting on their thrones, and everybody posturing, and they got a show going on. It's a lot of space, because you got 400 prophets there. You got a lot of room, right? So, and the prophets is just going through, they prophesying, they preaching up a storm while they waiting on the real guy to come. They preaching though. That shows you these false prophets will lie through their teeth. I'm not shocked. They will lie through their teeth in your face. Go ahead, verse 10.
And Zedekiah, the son of Chenaanah,
he one of the 400. Go ahead.
had made him horns of iron.
Oh, he a dramatic one too. They lying, and this guy done got him some props to lie with. He done got him some props. He done made him some iron horns. Go ahead.
And said, thus saith the Lord, with these thou shalt push Syria until they be consumed.
See, they even got him some horns. He got dramatic, like you see priests on TV, lying through their teeth, getting real dramatic. Be emphatic about the lie. I seen one stand on the Bible. He put the Bible on. You got to stand. I said, I wish he'd tell him something out of it. Take his foot off of it and read it. You got to stand on this word. Whatever happens, stand on the word. He's standing on the Bible. It's ludicrous. And they go through, like you got this one preacher, he's somewhere around here, Munster somewhere. He liked to put on all kind of shows. He brought a donkey up in the church, I heard. He done all kind of stuff. You had the one that got caught up in the scandal down in Atlanta. He had weights. He be lifting weights. See, you got to exercise yourself. Got props. This guy has some props, too. He has some horns, and he probably put them on his big head and started running towards something. With these, you going to push him into the sea. Praise the Lord. Let everybody say amen. Verse 11.
And all the prophets prophesied, saying,
and all of them preaching, they prophesying, saying the same thing. Oh, the Lord is with you. They glorifying the king, right? They trying to get him killed. And they don't even know it. But the Lord knew it. Go ahead.
Go up to Ramoth Gilead.
Go up to Ramoth Gilead. Go ahead.
And prosper.
Go ahead.
For the Lord shall deliver it into the hand of the king.
Hey, you got it. It's yours. Let's go up and take it. Like, I never forget this TV show, this church on 79th and Round Western in Chicago. Boy, they had a lady on there scream when that show come on. And she was saying something just like this. She screamed, take the city! Take the city! Take the city! And then she had a little speech that she would do. Said, the Lord showed me this man of God was coming, and he was going to do magnificent. I said, I get tired listening to them people. But now they doing the same type of stuff. So there ain't nothing new under the sun, right? The Lord going to deliver it. Then they even try to persuade the true servant of God. They always going to try to convince you to just go along. Can we all just get along? That's what they tell us. They say, y'all talk about the preachers, we need to get along. Can we get along? No. Go ahead.
Verse 12.
Mm-hmm.
And the messenger that went to call Micaiah spake to him, saying, Behold, the words of the prophets declare good to the king with one assent.
Uh-huh.
Let thy words, therefore, I pray thee, be like one of theirs, and speak thou good.
See, now, you can live good if you want to be on the right side, Micaiah. They all told the king the same thing. Just go along. Can you do that? What did he say?
And Micaiah said, As the Lord liveth, even what my God saith, that will I speak.
Go ahead.
And when he was come to the king said unto Micaiah, Shall we go to Ramoth Gilead to battle, or shall I forbear? And he said, Go ye up, and prosper, and they shall be delivered into thy hand.
See, he was playing with him then. He said, Go ahead up. Go ahead up. They're going to be delivered in your hand, all right. Go ahead and try that one. See, and he knew he was saying it a way that he didn't mean it. So that's why he said what?
And the king said unto him, How many times shall I endure thee that thou say nothing but the truth to me in the name of the Lord?
See, he knew he was playing with him. So he said, No, tell me your real message you say you got from the Lord. Obviously, he don't believe it's from the Lord because he disregards this guy, right? He think he just mad at him and talk about him when he give messages. But anyway, he said, No, tell me what your real thinking is. Because he told Ahab the guy didn't like him. I mean, Jehoshaphat, that the guy didn't like him. They said, No, tell me your real message you say you got from the Lord. He said, You really want to know? 16.
Then he said, I did see all the Israel scattered upon the mountains, as sheep that have no shepherd. And the Lord said, These should have no master. Let them return, therefore, every man to his house in peace.
See, he could have got dramatic and said, You want to know the truth? He could have pointed at Ahab and said, Dead man walking. Right. Dead man walking. Because that's really what he was saying. He said, Oh, yeah, I'll tell you the truth. He said, I did see all Israel scattered upon the mountains as sheep that have no shepherd. That let Ahab know, being that he was the king, which means the shepherd, look, you dead. Israel ain't got no shepherd no more, Ahab. And the Lord going to send them all home. He ain't going to even let nothing happen to none of them. The shepherd is about to die. Ahab got the message, 17.
And the king of Israel said to Jehoshaphat, Did I not tell thee that he would not prophesy good unto me but evil?
See, I told you. That's why I didn't want to call this guy. But see, that shows you how good the Lord is. The Lord is not going to let it go down without somebody telling the truth. In the midst of all that phonery, all that dramatic line, somebody had to come in there and tell the truth. And the Lord has somebody capable to do it. Micaiah had to have some faith, didn't he? He had to have some gumption to go in there, and everybody thinking and saying one thing, two great kings sitting on their thrones, 400 prophets over here, other people standing around, and he go in there and be a dissenting voice? Said, No, it ain't going down like that. This ain't going to work. Go ahead.
Verse 18. Again he said, Therefore hear the word of the Lord.
See, Micaiah said, You got me started now. You shouldn't have called me. But Jehoshaphat, he didn't want to call him. Jehoshaphat made him call him, right? But that was from the Lord, because the Lord going to let his truth be told, whether it be accepted or not. He said, Let me finish now. Again, hear the word of the Lord. I saw what?
I saw the Lord sitting upon his throne, and all the hosts of the heavens standing on his right hand and on his left. And the Lord said, Who shall entice Ahab, king of Israel, that he may go up and fall at Ramoth Gilead? And one spake saying after this manner, and another saying after that manner.
He said, Look, they had a meeting on you in heaven, Ahab. I saw the Lord. I ain't lying. The Lord showed me a vision. That's what he telling them. They had a meeting on you, and the Lord set this up. You being set up. Now, Ahab, if he had some sense, he tried to get out of it a little bit, but he was too slow. It was his time. But if he had some sense, he should have stayed his behind at home. And he wouldn't have died if he would have listened to this prophet. This prophet telling him, but again, the fix was in on him. He was too far gone to even turn back. But he told him, he said, look, they had a meeting in heaven, and the Lord asked the question about this situation that we here for today. Who gonna persuade you to go up to Ramoth Gilead? And different spirits came forth and said this and that. And then what happened? Verse 20.
Then there came out a spirit and stood before the Lord, saying, I will entice him. And the Lord said unto him, Wherewith?
See, the Lord been taking offers. What you got? What you got? What you got? Then one came and said, I got it. He said, what you got then? Go ahead.
And he said, I will go out and be a lying spirit in the mouth of all his prophets. And the Lord said, thou shalt entice them, and thou shalt also prevail. Go out and do even so.
See, the Lord said, you won. That's it right there. He like a lie. He love a lie. And you go make all 400 prophets tell them a lie? Ooh, that's a good one. Go on, do that. The Lord said, you the one. He said, you go and do that. See, that's so the Lord don't play. The Lord cover every base, don't he? The Lord's hand is in everything. If you like a lie, the Lord got somebody that'll lie to you. If you are serving a God and you've been doing right and you messed up and the Lord want to bust your head, the Lord got somebody that'll come bust your head. But now go ahead.
22. Now therefore, behold, the Lord has put a lying spirit in the mouth of all these prophets. The Lord has spoken evil against thee.
See, he said, Ahab, you in trouble. And then in the course of that, he backhanded the 400 at one time. Because y'all are all lying. So, you know, they didn't like that. They sitting over there with egg on their face because they've been going through dramatics and everything. Especially the one that's dramatic. You know, he the one stand out. He probably one of the leaders. What'd he do? 23.
Then Zedekiah.
That's the one with the horns. Remember him now. He didn't put too much on the line to take that. Go ahead.
Then Zedekiah, the son of Chenaanah, came near and smote Micaiah upon the cheek.
See, Micaiah in a vulnerable situation, right, against all them people. You know, so this guy take advantage of it. He comes slap him on the face. Go ahead.
And said, which way went the Spirit of the Lord from me to speak unto thee?
See, that's sir, they be lying praise. This guy know he lying, but basically, and he didn't even try to defend the lie. He just called Micaiah a lie. Well, if I'm lying, how you get the spirit to lie too? You lying, you know. Both of them called each other a lie, but we're going to find out, right? Go ahead.
And Micaiah said, behold, thou shalt see on that day when thou shalt go into an inner chamber to hide thyself.
He said, yeah, you got jokes now, but you're going to find out when this thing's over with. Because we're going to both end up meeting again after you sleep and wake up and meet the Lord. Go ahead, 25.
Then the king of Israel said, take ye Micaiah and carry him back to Ammon, the governor of the city, and to Joash, the king's son.
Go ahead.
And say, and thus saith the king, put this fellow in prison and feed him with bread of affliction and with water of affliction until I return in peace.
See, that Micaiah was something else. He could have avoided all that if he just went along, right? He could have been living good, but he didn't care about none of that. He knew what he was up against by going in there and telling the truth. Like, whatever, do what you got to do. I've been in worse places. It don't matter. I told you what the truth was. You asked for it, I gave it to you. He's talking about take them back and feed them. Tell the governor, feed them with bread of affliction and water of affliction till I return in peace. Now, that's a lie. I told you he wasn't coming back. Micaiah had to throw that in there to him. You know, he ain't going to let him get on his way. While they handcuff him, he said, I got one more thing for you before they take me. What? 27.
And Micaiah said, if thou certainly return in peace, then have not the Lord spoken by me. And he said, hearken all you people.
He said, this for all the people. If this guy come back in peace, then I am lying. And everybody better pay attention to it. So let's see what happened. Go ahead.
So the king of Israel and Jehoshaphat, the king of Judah, went up to Ramoth Gilead.
Now, I don't understand Jehoshaphat too much in this because he asked for a dissenting voice or asked for another prophet, and he got it. I don't see why the guy's still going. You asked to seek the Lord, but I guess the 400 still outweighed the one, huh? So he going anyway. And then Jehoshaphat acted real slow in this. Because what's going to happen? 29, go ahead.
And the king of Israel said unto Jehoshaphat, I will disguise myself and will go to the battle. But put thou on thy robe. So the king of Israel disguised himself, and they went to the battle.
See, now Jehoshaphat going to go for this. This guy, you know, they usually kings go into war as who they are. As kings. They the king, right? But Ahab trying to be real slick again. He was a little worried about what Micaiah said, but I guess he think he can hide from the Lord. So he said, I tell you what, Joseph, I'm going to disguise myself. I'm going to put on a disguise. But you just go ahead and wear your king's robes. I said, Jehoshaphat kind of slow. But go ahead.
Now the king of Assyria had commanded the captains of the chariots that were with him, saying, Fight ye not with small or great, save only the king of Israel.
See, he told them, don't fight with small or great, only fight with the king of Israel. But now we got a problem because the king of Israel don't look like the king of Israel, do we? So if God don't have nothing to do with it, it's just about man, Ahab is okay, and Jehoshaphat is the one in trouble because he's the only one looking like a king around here, right? He got his robe on, he got the big chariot and everything, right? 31.
And it came to pass, when the captains of the chariots saw Jehoshaphat, that they said, It is the king of Israel.
They said, there you go. I said, boy, I don't know what was on Jehoshaphat's mind at this time. They thought he was the king of Israel because this cat, the only one with a robe on, looking like a king. And the fix was in for Ahab on all fronts because the Lord had put it into their mind because they knew he was starting it. The Lord put it into the Syrians' mind, only get him. That's our only mission is to get him. We don't care about nobody. Kill that king. But here it is, Jehoshaphat. It looked like it's him, right? So they saw Jehoshaphat and they said, it is the king of Israel. But it wasn't. That's the king. He was the king of Judah. Go ahead.
Therefore they compassed about him to fight.
See, they had him. See, if it wasn't for him really being a servant of God, he was finished. They had him. Go ahead.
But Jehoshaphat cried out, and the Lord helped him. And God moved them to depart from him.
See, God had to show them. That's how he moved. It wasn't nothing dramatic that he did to make them move, like bring a thunderstorm, bam, and they ran. Nah, he let them know. He let them see, that ain't the one you want, dummy. And then they see that, like, oh, man, that ain't the king. That ain't that guy. And they had orders to only get that guy. So now they had a loss because that's the only king they see, right? But the Lord ain't at a loss. The Lord said Ahab was getting ready to die. Go ahead.
For it came to pass that when the captains of the chariots perceived that it was not the king of Israel, they turned back again from pursuing him.
See, they left. Go ahead.
And a certain man drew a bow at a venture and smote the king of Israel between the joints of the harness.
That's just like shooting your gun in the air. This show you if the Lord wants you, ain't nothing you can do, can he? You have reached that line. It's time for it. It's over with. This guy shoot a bow at a venture. They don't know who the king of Israel is. The Lord just called him just shoot a fire one in the air. It found Ahab. Bam. Go ahead.
Therefore he said to his chariot man, Turn thy hand, that thou mightest carry me out of the host, for I am wounded.
Disguise and all. Go ahead.
And the battle increased that day. Howbeit the king of Israel stayed himself up in his chariots against the Syrians until the even. And about the time of the sun going down, he died. He
died. Just like the prophet said, right? He's a dead man walking. He was dead. It was over with. The Lord had had enough of Ahab. But now, you might say, well, what does this really got to do with the lesson? Well, we're really here to really look at Jehoshaphat's behavior in this. Because this man was a servant of God, and he had an issue. He didn't watch his flesh when it came to hooking up with these wicked people. Right. He shouldn't have did it. He's a good man, but he got a soft spot. But go ahead to the 18th chapter of 19th chapter of Chronicles, 2nd Chronicles, verse 1. Go ahead.
And Jehoshaphat, the king of Judah, returned to his house in peace in Jerusalem.
He made it back home, boy. He should have been wiping sweat off his brow. Woo, that was a close one. That was close. Go ahead.
And Jehu, the son of Hanani, the seer, went out to meet him.
See, the Lord got to tell him about himself, though. Because that was a dumb move. The Lord spared him because he was good. Go ahead.
And said to King Jehoshaphat, Shouldest thou help the ungodly and love them that hate the Lord?
See, the prophet came and blew on him and said, man, what's wrong with you? Should you help the ungodly and love them that hate the Lord? Go ahead.
Therefore is wrath upon thee from above the Lord, from before the Lord.
You got to get some wrath from the Lord for this. That was a dumb move. He escaped with his life because the Lord just had mercy on him because he was a good servant of God. But still, it was a blunder. Go ahead.
Nevertheless, there are good things found in thee, and that thou hast taken away the groves out of the land and hast prepared thine heart to seek God.
See, he had the people worshiping right, and the prophet even had to admit that. He said, but I still got to change. Good stuff found in you. The Lord still see your good ways, but you just made a bad mistake. Now, that seems like that should be enough. This shows you how the flesh is, brothers and sisters. This guy done this, got reprimanded from doing it, and let's see what he do next. 2 Chronicles 20. 2 Chronicles 20. Now, Ahab dead. He can't hook up with him no more. See, the Lord even, sometimes you got wicked people around you. The Lord even move where you can't even hang out with them no more. You can't even deal with them no more. But it's always somebody else wicked if you just bent on going that way. 20 and 31. Go ahead.
And Jehoshaphat reigned over Judah. He was 35 years old when he began to reign. And reigned 25 years in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Azubah, the daughter of Silhi.
Now this Jehoshaphat again. We're going to even get his resume. Show you what the Lord thought about him. Go ahead.
And he walked in the way of Asa his father, and departed not from it, doing that which was right in the sight of the Lord.
See, his father was good, and he followed the ways of his father, doing that which is right in the sight of the Lord, right? Go ahead.
Howbeit that the high places were not taken away, for as yet the people had not prepared their hearts unto God of their fathers. Now the rest of acts of Jehoshaphat, first and last, behold, they are written in the books of Jehu the son of Hanani, who is mentioned in the book of the king of Israel. Okay, so now they said he didn't take away the high place. He took away some of the false worship. He didn't get to all of it. It said in the other place he took away the groves where the people was worshiping false at. It's just like if we had control, just say we had control of this whole city, one of the first things we had to do, get rid of all these false churches where people don't even have no place to go worship on Sunday. We would have to do that. If the Lord gave us that control, that's be the top of our agenda. Outlaw Sunday worship. But now, Jehoshaphat did some of that. He got rid of some of that false worship, which was good as far as the Lord was concerned. But now, let's see what else he did. Verse 35. And after this did Jehoshaphat, king of Judah, join himself with Uzziah, king of Israel, who did very wickedly.
See, Jehoshaphat had a problem, didn't he? It said, after this, did Jehoshaphat, king of Judah, join himself with Ahaziah. You know, this one of Ahab's descendants. Another king, it couldn't be Ahab. Ahab dead, right? But one of his son, after him, king of Israel, and he did very wicked. It's another wicked man. Ahab just had a thing for them. It's just like when, people again try to get together and do something for, they say we're going to do something for the black community. You know, you say, well, we should be, you know, we need to work together and do something. Look, if you are serving a God, you can't look at it that way. But go ahead.
36. And he joined himself with him to make ships to go to Tarshish. And they made ships in Ezon Geber.
See, he joined himself with him to make some ships. So they said, look, man, we're going to make some ships and we're going to really do some stuff. We're going to branch out. Help me with these. We're going to do this together, brother. You my brother. Everybody hugging him and kissing him and all that. Jehoshaphat went with that. So they made some ships in Ezon Geber. Go ahead.
Then Eleazar, the son of Dudabah of Maharsha, prophesied against Jehoshaphat, saying...
See, he prophesied against. Now, he already had Jehu come and blow on him, tell him, man, what's wrong with you? You going to help the ungodly and love them to hate God? Now, this guy, he didn't hooked up with Ahijah. This guy prophesied against him. What did he say?
Because thou hast joined thyself with Ahijah, the Lord hath broken thy work.
He said, you've been wasting your time. You know, all that time and money you spent on them ships? Because you done this stupid thing, the Lord just broke them. Go ahead.
And the ships were broken, that they were not able to go to Tarshish.
See, he wasted all this time. Them ships didn't even work. See, that's how the Lord would do. Even though Jehoshaphat was a good man of God, and the Lord wasn't going to take him out for doing the things he did, he's still going to chastise him. So now you spinning your wheels for nothing. He didn't broke what you done spent all your time and money on because you doing the same thing. That show you again, though, the spirit is willing. Jehoshaphat's spirit was willing, wasn't it? But his flesh got out of hand from time to time, didn't it? Doing stupid stuff. Now, go to Matthew 26. Back to where we started at, where Jesus gave us the scripture. And we're going to read into that a little bit. Show you exactly what was going on during that time. Matthew 26 and verse 36. Reason why Jesus said watch and pray. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak. That's where the title come from. 26 and 36. Go ahead.
Then cometh Jesus with them unto a place called Gethsemane, and said unto the disciples, Sit ye here, while I go and pray yonder. And he took with him Peter and the two sons of Zebedee, and began to be sorrowful and very heavy.
See, Jesus was going through a thing. He was sorrowful and very heavy. He was having some problems at this time. And he said, look, y'all sit here, and while I go down here and pray, and we're going to be praying together, help me out in this. Go ahead.
Then said he unto them, My soul is exceedingly sorrowful, even unto death. Tarry ye here and watch with me.
See, he said, look, I got some problems. I need y'all to watch with me. I got to overcome this. Watch with me. In other words, hey, seek the Lord for me on my behalf so I can overcome this. Go ahead.
And he went a little further and fell on his face and prayed, saying, O my Father, if it was possible, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, not as I will, but thou wilt.
See, as thou wilt. He said, if it's possible. Now, Jesus knew he had to die, but he started having some second thoughts. He said, wait a minute. If you got another plan, Father, I'm open to it. You know, I want to find another way. So if it's at all possible, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, not as I will, but as thou wilt. He still left it up to the Father, but he let it known plainly what he was thinking about. Go ahead.
And he cometh unto the disciples, and finding them asleep.
See, they sleep. So I said, all the sleep ain't even good. See, people could be getting more sleep on Friday night, but it's better to be here having a holy convocation, seeking the Lord. Go ahead.
And said unto Peter, What? Could you not watch with me 1 hour?
See, Jesus said, what? You can watch with me 1 hour? Go ahead.
Watch and pray that ye enter not into temptation.
Now we get to this. Watch and pray that you enter not into temptation. Go ahead.
The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak.
Go ahead.
And he went away again the second time and prayed, saying, O my Father, if this cup may not pass away from me, except I drink it, thy will be done.
Go ahead.
And he came and found them asleep again.
See, they still nodding on him. He said, boy, y'all ain't nothing. Go ahead.
For their eyes were heavy.
Their eyes were heavy. They was out, boy. He having the worst time in his life, and these jakes sleeping on him. But go ahead. That's Israel for you, ain't it? Right when you need him. You know, people be calling you all the time. Calling you, and then when you really need some call, you can't get nobody. You call about 15 numbers. Ain't nobody answering. Voicemail. Go straight to voicemail. Go ahead.
And he left them and went away again and prayed the third time, saying the same words.
He just left him there. He ain't even wake him up and say nothing. Go ahead.
Then cometh he to his disciples and said unto them, Sleep on now.
He said, go ahead and sleep on now. It's over with. But now that's good because he kept praying and he got the strength he needed because he was going through a thing. But now skip down to verse 67 because let's see what happened because a little bit after that, see, they was about to come and arrest Jesus. He knew they was about to come. I'm talking about this night. That's why he was going through a thing. It was time. It was time for him to do what he knew he had to do all along. But, of course, when you get to that point, hey, it's another story. That's why when I was new in the Word, I used to say that all the time when I was, I die for the Lord. I'm ready to die. I don't even say that no more. I'd be like, if it be your will, but if not, I prefer not to. Go ahead. Skip down to verse 67 and go ahead.
Then did they spit in his face.
See, this is what Jesus was about to go through. Now he's going through it. That same night, he said they spit in his face, and what else?
And buffeted him, and others smote him with the palms of their hands, saying, Prophesy unto us, thou Christ, who is he that smote thee?
See, they making fun of him and mock him, spitting in his face, slapping him. This is what he was getting ready to go through. He was trying to see if he can avoid this and even being crucified. But he knew when he got through praying, the Lord had gave him strength that, look, he had to do his will. But he had sought the Lord to do the Lord's will, not his own will. He had sought the Lord to maintain that spiritual mind to do God's will and not go with his own flesh. See, we got a choice all the time to go with what the Spirit said, the right thing, or go with what our flesh want to do, the wrong thing. And he made the right choice. That's why he kept saying, not my will, but your will. So when it came, he did it. And they mocked him. They did all this to him. Now, let's see what Peter did, 69.
Now Peter sat without in the palace, and a damsel came unto him, saying, Thou also was with Jesus of Galilee.
Now, you know, Peter been hanging out with Jesus all this time. Jesus let him know he was going to go through this. He even told Peter even made the statement he was ready to die with Jesus, didn't he? Mm-hmm. Yeah, man, I'm ready to die. I go to prison with you. I'm ready to die with you. Right now. Peter said that. Mm-hmm. And Jesus told him, he said, man, the cock ain't going to crow. You're going to be denying that you even know me. Mm-hmm. He told him, and this is what's about to happen. Go ahead.
But he denied before them all, saying, I know not what thou sayest.
I don't know what you're talking about. Go ahead. 71.
And when he was gone out into the porch, another maid saw him, and said unto them that were there, This fellow was also with Jesus of Nazareth.
See, they keep calling him out. This might have been the next morning, not the same night, but it was the same day, the Passover. Go ahead.
And again he denied with an oath, I do not know the man.
Boy, he went deep. He denied with an oath. I'm telling you, I don't know him. Don't know the man. Go ahead.
And after a while came unto him they that stood by, and said to Peter, Surely thou also art one of them, for thy speech bewareth
Boy,
thee.
they won't let Peter off the hook, will they? They say, hold on, man. You don't even talk like that dude, man. You sound just like, don't he? You sound just like him. Your speech giving you, I know you was with that cat. Just admit it. What Peter said?
Then again Then began he to curse and to swear, saying, I know not the man. And immediately the cock crew.
See, boy, you know, when you start cursing, that's going to really make your point, right? That's why some of the rappers, they got some good vocabulary, but they figure they got to curse to make that point. So Peter said, look, I got to make this clear. Look, let me tell you so-and-so. He said he began to curse and to swear, saying, I know not the man. And immediately the cock crew. So what this lets you know, Peter, who's been with Jesus all this time, he had a serious lapse in the flesh, didn't he? He got way away from the Spirit. That's what Jesus just was warning them of, though, wasn't he? Now Peter meant well, and he turned out to be a great servant of God, but he had a big problem right here, didn't he? And what do you think about that? Verse 75.
And Peter remembered the words of Jesus, which said unto him, Before the cock crow, thou shalt deny me thrice. And he went out and wept bitterly.
Woo! He went out and had a good cry, didn't he? He had a real good cry. Not letting no little tears just falling. It said he went out and he wept bitterly. That means he was crying like a baby, because he knew he had just blew the mission. And the Lord had some mercy on him, because it had to go down that way, because it was other scripture written, said they're going to slay the shepherd and the sheep going to be scattered. And that's what was going on. Peter just was hard-headed, like it wasn't going to happen that way. He should have stayed his tail on away from that scene. But he didn't went over there like he going to investigate, like he can do something. You was in the wrong place. Now you got the answer for it. But now the bottom line is, this is what Jesus was telling him and the other ones. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. You got to be on God all the time. Now, go to 1 Corinthians 9. Paul knew about this. It ain't no cakewalk like they tell you in Sunday church. You got saved. See, if that was the case, you wouldn't have all this scripture here warning you about staying on God. Examples of people who failed some tests and messed up and had to get back on the horse and keep riding. That's all Peter could do. See, Peter did the right thing. He cried, and he made his mind to get back up and do the right thing. Unlike Judas. Judas was far gone. Judas was just evil, period. He just had a wicked mind. He was gone over to the flesh. See, there's a difference from you walking in the spirit and having a lapse in the flesh than you just being fleshly. That's the difference. See, Judas was fleshly. That's why when he messed up and it came back on him, he didn't weep bitterly. He went and committed suicide. Hey, ain't never no answer in that, is it? But when your mind is messed up, that's what you think. But now, 1 Corinthians 9 and 24. Go ahead. 1 Corinthians 9 and 24. Go ahead.
Know ye not that they which run in a race run all, but one receiveth the prize?
See, you run in a race, everybody got to run. It ain't just for some people. It ain't just for the leaders or the preachers or the deacons and elders and all. Look, everybody got to run, don't they? And one receiveth the prize in the average race, but in this race, all you got to do is finish. You ain't got to finish first. You just got to finish this race. You got to stay on top of the flesh and walk in the spirit to the end. Go ahead.
So run that ye may obtain.
Run. Go ahead, 25.
And every man that striveth for the mastery is temperate in all things.
In this world, people striving to master things. They discipline themselves. They temperate in all things. Go ahead.
Now they do it to obtain a corruptible crown.
Their crown is corruptible. Whether they're going for the NBA championship, they have to practice every day, practice even in off season. But their crown that they trying to get is corruptible. Go ahead.
But we an incorruptible.
But we doing something much more. But we got to do something to get it, don't we? It ain't like in church you ain't got to do nothing and it's just going to be handed to you on a silver platter. No, you got to do something to get this crown, and this crown is better than anything you could imagine in this life. It's an incorruptible crown. It ain't going to never end. Ain't nobody going to come take your heavyweight title. Go ahead.
I therefore so run, not as uncertainly.
Paul said, I'm running, and I know how I'm running, not uncertainly. Go ahead.
So fight I.
I'm running. He comparing it to all kind of things. I'm running, I'm fighting, I'm doing everything I can do. It's a race, it's a fight. Go ahead.
Not as one that beateth the air.
And I'm not just beating the air when I fight. I know what I got to do. That's why sometimes the preachers on TV, they say the right thing, they just don't get specific with it. The guy was saying the right thing when he put the Bible on the floor and still don't say you got to stand on the word. But he never give him no word to stand on. That ain't enough just being general telling me I got to stand on the word. Okay, good. Now, give me some word that I can stand on. Like I said, when we start giving the word, like I could have been right there. I wish I'd been right there in the audience. Say, I agree with you, preacher. So that means in the word in Leviticus 11 where it said don't eat swine, I got to stand on that, don't I? And don't eat swine, he would have been messed up. He'd have to backpedal from that statement. Well, you know, that one we can just pray over it. What about Leviticus 23 where it talks about the feast days? Do I got to stand on that? Well, look, by the time I'd have got through with him, he would have took that Bible from under his feet and had a little piece of paper under there. Stand on that. Because he ain't believing in what the Bible say. So now, Paul knew what he had to do. What did he say, 27?
But I keep under my body and bring it into subjection, lest that by any means, when I have preached to others, I myself should be a castaway.
See, Paul knew, just like he said in Romans 7, how he knew he was keeping the law with his mind. He was striving and fighting the fight to keep the law, the holy, just, and good law. So he knew what he had to do. So he said, I keep under my body and bring it into subjection, lest by any means, after I didn't preach to other people, I can be a castaway. Paul knew he wasn't saved, didn't he? If he thought he could possibly be a castaway, he wasn't saved, was he? And he knew he had to maintain his flesh. He knew the spirit was willing, like Jesus said, but the flesh was weak. So he didn't write it off like he had it made, did he? He said, I got to stay on top of it. Keep your finger here. In 1 Corinthians, we're going to come back. Go to Hebrews 12, and then we're going to come right back. Hebrews 12, we're going to come back to 1 Corinthians 10. We're going to wrap it up. We're almost done. Hebrews 12. Pick it up at verse 12. Hebrews 12 and verse 12. Go ahead.
Wherefore lift up the hands which hang down, and the feeble knees.
See, now, he's telling you here, look, you got to stay on point and lift up the hands which hang down and the feeble knees. In other words, you know whatever issues you got. Just like Jehoshaphat knew his issue, right? If he didn't know, somebody came and told him he had an issue dealing with the ungodly, helping the ungodly. So he said, lift up the hands which hang down and the feeble knees. So whatever ailments you got to really stay on top of them. You know what your weaknesses are, right? Jesus knew what his weakness was. That's why he said, look, you better watch and pray. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak. You can easily go. So you got to shore up the weakness. Go ahead.
13. And make straight paths for your feet.
That's what we got to do. We know the way we got to go. We got to go that way, though. Go ahead.
Lest that which is lame be turned out of the way, but let it rather be healed.
See, you got some issues that you might be getting lax with. Hey, that'll be the thing that'll knock you totally off base. It might not have knocked you off yet, but it'll knock you totally off base eventually. He says, so make straight paths for your feet, lest that which is lame be turned out of the way. Lest your issues come back, your fleshly issues come back to mess you up. But rather let it be healed. 14.
Follow peace with all men in holiness, without which no man shall see the Lord.
Now he's going to tell us about grace. How you can be, people think grace, just do it all for, look, you can have grace and you can blow the grace. People don't know that. If you couldn't blow the grace, brothers and sisters, we wouldn't even be having to have this lesson. We wouldn't have to worry about the weakness of the flesh, right? We wouldn't have to worry about the spirit being willing. And Jesus wouldn't have to make that statement if you couldn't blow the grace. Grace don't save you in and of itself. You got to take advantage of the grace. Grace don't do away with your bill. It gives you some time to still pay your bill, don't it? We wish it would do away with it. We wish grace meant you got grace till the year 3000. That'd be pretty good. That'd basically do away with it, right? But it don't work like that. You got 15 extra days to get that money and send it in. That's it. He said, looking what? 15.
Looking diligent.
Now, when you say looking diligent, that's really watching, isn't it? That means you really on the lookout. That's the title, watch out, right? That's what you're doing if you looking diligently, right? You are paying attention. But who you paying attention? You paying attention to everybody around you, or you paying attention to yourself? Looking diligently, lest what?
Lest any man fail of the grace of God.
Oh, you mean any man could fail of the grace? You can get an F in grace, brothers and sisters. You can get an A, or you can fail grace. You can fail that class. Lest any man fail of the grace of God. Go ahead.
Lest any root of bitterness springing up trouble you, and thereby many be defiled.
See, so that's why you got to stay on top of it. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. Back to 1 Corinthians 10. Back there. 1 Corinthians 10. And we're going to pick it up at 1 and read on down. 1 Corinthians 10 and 1. Because Paul going to give us an example in 1 Corinthians that take us all the way back to the old days. In the Old Testament, which people want to do away with that. 1 Corinthians 10, 1. Go ahead.
Moreover, brethren, I would not that ye should be ignorant, how that all our fathers were under the cloud, and all passed through the sea, and were all baptized unto Moses in the cloud and in the sea, and did all eat the same spiritual meat, and did all drink the same spiritual drink.
Go ahead.
For they drank of that spiritual rock that followed them, and that rock was Christ.
See, now he took it back to the Red Sea. He said, don't be ignorant. They was all under the cloud. In other words, look, they all came under the banner of the Lord's church. They was all there. They all got baptized into the Lord's church. And they had the same good word, the spiritual meat and drink. They had it, and Christ was back there giving it to them. So you can't even think that Christ just started the New Testament. He was back in the old days. He said he came down from heaven. So he was back there, and he gave them everything they needed to serve him now. But what happened? Verse 5.
But with many of them God was not well pleased.
Oh, now he did all that for them. They got baptized and everything. They knew how to walk with him in the spirit, but then they got caught up in the flesh still. And he wasn't pleased with them, and what happened?
For they were overthrown in the wilderness.
Well, they got to be ashamed. God delivered you out of some serious danger, and you still mess up and he kill you in the end. That's a shame, right? He delivered Israel from Pharaoh, got them out of trouble, out of bondage, went through the Red Sea, and then they still didn't act right. He had to kill them out there in the wilderness. That's rough. But that shows you they didn't want to get away from the flesh. Go ahead.
Verse 6. Now these things were our examples, to the intent we should not lust after things that as they also lusted.
Lust after evil things, as they also lusted. See, we got to avoid the lust, don't we? People think the New Testament did away with the Old Testament. He said, no, this is something you use as an example. And people think you in the New Testament you don't have no responsibility. He telling you you got the same responsibility they had. In this example, they messed up. Don't you mess up is what he's saying, right? That's what an example is, to the intent that we should not lust after evil things as they also lusted. That means we got to stay on top of our lust, don't we? Go ahead, verse 7.
Neither be ye idolaters.
Oh, we got to stay on top of our lust to possibly commit idolatry, which no preacher talk about at all. Idolatry is false worship. You that made you a god. That's where Christmas and Easter and all that come from. It's idolatry. He telling you don't do it. Some of them did it in the old days. Neither be ye idolatrous as what?
As were some of them, as it is written, the people sat down to eat and drink and rose up to play.
See, they sat down to eat, drink, and rose up to play. They just gonna have. See, when you're doing idolatry, you can have some fun. That's the thing about worshiping a false god. You can kind of do what you want to do. That's why that sale. You can keep on doing what you're doing, and still, I got God now. Ooh, it's good. It's even better. You're still doing what you're doing, but now you got God, and you're gonna be saved in the end. That's a wonderful life, isn't it? It don't work like that, though. It don't work like that. See, they sat down to eat and drink and rose up to play, but after they get through playing, you're going to die. That's the end result of that. Verse 8.
Neither let us commit fornication as some of them.
We can't do that either like they did, right? Go ahead.
As some of them committed and fell in one day 320,000.
See, they died in one day for doing this folly. 320,000. So you got to keep your flesh in check or you're going to die. That's why that's an urgent statement coming directly from Jesus. Watch and pray. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak. That's an urgent message for us, isn't it? Neither let us commit fornication. They did in the old days. We can't do it. Lest, he said, and fell in one day 320,000, verse 9.
Neither let us tempt Christ, as some of them also tempted and were destroyed of serpents.
They got destroyed for doing it. We don't want to do it. What else?
Neither murmur ye, as some of them also murmured and were destroyed of the destroyer.
See, sometimes even just murmuring, you seem like you doing no big thing, but you murmuring, ain't trying to help nothing, you just murmuring. I got something to say about everything. Oh, that ain't right, that ain't right, that ain't right either. That ain't right, it just ain't right. He said, neither murmur ye as some of them also murmured and were destroyed of the destroyer. So we still got guidelines to follow in the New Testament. This is what amazed me. You go to a New Testament church and they say they're about the New Testament and they ain't got to follow nothing in the old day. This telling you got to follow what they had to follow. They, in this instance, they are the ones that didn't do it. You can't be like them. Go ahead, verse 10. I'm sorry, verse 11.
Now all these things happen unto them for an example.
It's an example. Go ahead.
And they are written for our admonition, upon whom the ends of the world are come.
See, they written for our benefit, our admonition, so we can learn from it and be wiser. That's why Jesus made the statement, watch out. That's why the title is, watch out. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. If you watch it out, that means you know you got to stay on top of making sure you are focusing and practicing doing God's will. Verse 12.
Wherefore let him that thinketh he stand take heed lest he fall.
Oh, you mean you can fall? You could be standing. And he not so sure about that. He said, wherefore let him that thinketh he stand. If you think you stand, he said, you better be careful. Lest he take heed lest he fall. And you ain't gonna have no excuse. Some people try to use an excuse. They say, yeah, you know, see, it's just me. I'm just messed up. Some people even go deep. They say, you know, it's a generational curse. You know, my father was this, and you know, I can't get away from it. Now, you a lie. You can get away from it. You can overcome, or else the Lord wouldn't have told you to overcome. You can overcome it. You ain't got to be with your father or mother. It don't even work like that. You ain't got to go down the same road they went. That's why he's telling you. Verse 13.
Therefore have no temptation taking you, but such as is common to man.
See, it ain't no special temptation just for you either. It's not just you. That's one thing that made me, I was happy to find out it wasn't just me, because I thought I was just crazy about myself when I first got in the Word. I said, woo, I ain't going to make it. But when I found out this the way, you know, like I said, my daughter said, when I embraced it and said, okay, this the way I'm supposed to be fighting and overcome this. When I found that out, that was good to know. That's what he's telling us here. He said, there have no temptation taken you, but such as is common to men. It ain't nothing uncommon just for you. Everybody got to go this way. Go ahead.
But God is faithful.
But God is faithful, who will what?
Who will not suffer you to be tempted above that ye are able. But will with the temptation also make a way to escape, that ye may be able to bear it.
See, God is faithful. He will give you an out, but you have to be the one looking for it, right? You have to be watching and praying, looking for that out, don't you? He ain't just going to give it to you if you ain't paying attention, even trying to get out. No, you in already. But if you paying attention and watching and praying and seeking him, you will see how you can overcome it. Luke 14. We're almost done. Luke 14. Luke 14. And we're going to read two verses, 25 and 26. Luke 14 and 25 and 26. Like I said, last night we was dealing with deception, that you got to watch out and overcome that. See, but your worst enemy is you that you got to overcome. If you can get past the deception of these false preachers and quit letting them take you to hell, then you got to worry about yourself taking you to hell. Well, you got to worry about that all alone. But to get some understanding on all of this, you do got to get past the false prophets. Because you ain't going to even get no understanding, even help yourself if you get caught up with them false prophets, because they ain't going to tell you that you got to look out for them or yourself. 14 and 25. Go ahead.
And there went great multitude with him. And he turned and said unto them, if any man come to me and hate not his father and mother and wife and children and brethren and sister, yea, and his own life also, he cannot be my disciple.
See, Jesus warned these people that was following him. He said, look, it's good y'all follow me, but if you're going to follow me, you got to be willing to let it go. Whatever it is contrary. So he started at the top. He said, if you come to me and you have to choose between me and your father, I'm telling you, you better hate your father. That's some strong language, isn't it? People think we fanatical. Well, we are kind of fanatical because Jesus is, right? Jesus said, you better take me over your own father. That's what he said. That's what he means, hate your father. You know, he said, honor your mother and father, right? That's what he's saying. He wants you to do that, but he don't want you to honor your father to the point of sinning against him. You ain't got to do that. Your father might want you to keep going to church on Sunday, keep eating pork. You ain't got to do that. You said, Daddy, I love you, but I ain't going to church with you no more. I love you, and I ain't going to eat no more of your pork chops you cooking. That ain't dishonoring them, but that might be choosing the Lord over them when it get right down to it. So that's what he means. If any man come to me and hate not his father, you're going to have to do this. His father, his mother, his wife, he can put the wife in there, children, brethren, sisters. But the one we really focusing on today, he said, yea, and his own life also. That's the big one for you, ain't it? You got to even hate your own self when it get contrary to the Lord. That's what he's talking about when he said the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. See, that's all you. You walking in the spirit or you walking in the flesh. You got to hate yourself when it's in the flesh. That's what he's talking about. In his own life also, if you don't hate yourself, he said he cannot be my disciple. You can't do it. Go to Matthew 16. Matthew 16. Just pretty much the same statement, but he added a little more. And it started off even with Peter interjecting something. Matthew 16 and verse 21. 16 and 21. Okay, go ahead.
From that time forth began Jesus to show unto his disciples how that he must go unto Jerusalem and suffer many things of the elders and chief priests and scribes, and be killed, and be raised again the third day.
See, we be saying stuff like this. Jesus was telling his disciples this a long time, that he had to die. He had to die. He had to die. He had to go to Jerusalem. They're going to misuse me and abuse me, and I'm going to die. He was telling them that, just like we tell people the same thing. We said, look, eventually, it's some of us going to have to die for the word. It's just a matter of time. A lot of times, that probably go in one end out the other because it seems so far off, but it's coming real soon. Just like what Jesus said. One place Jesus, it said he told his disciple this. It said, it said it went in one end out the other because it said they didn't understand that saying. But it wasn't nothing to understand. He telling you he getting ready to die. But they thought maybe that's a trick statement or something. Maybe he means something else. They didn't understand it. But that's because they didn't want to really think of it in those terms. They didn't want to acknowledge that. So this was hard for him. So now he telling them here what Peter said, 22. He telling me about to die and be raised again the third day. What Peter said, 22.
Then Peter took him and began to rebuke him, saying, Be it far from thee, Lord, this shall not be unto thee.
See, Peter wasn't on board with that. He said, be it far from you. You ain't going to go through this. He meant well. People say, well, if your intention's good, God understands. He know your heart. Look, Peter didn't mean nothing bad, did he? He just didn't think his Lord should have to go through what he was saying he had to go through. You mean you're going to let them spit on you and do all that to you? Far be that from you. You too good for that. You can, you got the power. I know you can deal with them. But see, the scripture got to be fulfilled. That's what Peter didn't get. So he meant well, but did Jesus take and say, yeah, you mean, well, I know your heart, and maybe I'll think about it. What Jesus said, 23.
But he turned and said unto Peter, Get thee behind me, Satan.
Boy, he rebuked Peter sharply, didn't he? Because the bottom line, it don't matter what your intentions are. It matters whether you saying the right thing or you doing the right thing or not. That's all that matters. And Peter was off base with what he was saying. He didn't understand that this was God's will and it had to happen that way. And you can't go against God's will. No matter how you feel about it. You might feel personally, well, it just don't feel right. That's what Peter was thinking, right? That don't feel right. But Peter, look, the Lord said, get behind me, Satan, because you on another page. Go ahead.
Thou art an offense unto me.
He said, get thee behind me, Satan. He called Peter his own disciple, Satan. He said, you working for the devil right now. And Jesus knew he had to, as you said, nip it in the butt. He knew he had to get rid of that because he was having second thoughts himself. And he knew he had to die. So he said, get thee behind me, Satan, what?
For thou savorest not the things that be of God, but those that be of men.
See, you on the fleshly plane. You're not on the spiritual plane right now. You looking at it from man's point of view, not from God's point of view. So you got to get behind me. Then he went further to give a lesson behind that. Peter opened the can of worms for Jesus. He gave a lesson. What did he say?
Then Jesus said unto his disciples, If any man will come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me.
See, that's what he means. Hate yourself. Deny yourself. Or you could say from Jesus' statement in Matthew 26, deny your fleshly self. Hey, walk in the Spirit. Walk in what you know God's will is. Go ahead.
For whosoever will save his life shall lose it. Mm-hmm. And whosoever will lose his life for my sake shall find it.
See, he said you can save your life. If you want to keep your life the way it is, intact like it is now, and it's contrary to God, then you're going to lose your life in the end. And whosoever will lose his life. See, that don't necessarily mean you got to lose your life physically to please the Lord. But some people will go that far with it. But he's talking about whatever life you know that's contrary to God, be it associated with your father, mother, sister, brother, and whatever you like to do, you're going to have to let that go. But then again, for some, it's going to come to losing your life altogether, physically, for the Lord's sake. That's what Jesus had to do, right? So he said, whosoever will lose his life for my sake. See, he wasn't necessarily talking about you being killed for the Lord, but even if it come to that, that's a part of it for some. Just like everybody in here, when I say, look, some people going to die for the Lord, well, I'm confident everybody in here not going to have to lose their life physically for the Lord. But even if you in here now, or on the internet, or on the phone now, and you don't lose your life, you still might be sitting next to somebody that have to lose their life. So you still have to deal with that, right? So it's still all a part of it. Go ahead, 26.
26. For what is a man profited if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul?
See, so you should be willing to let that go. Because you can gain the whole world. You can be famous in this world. You know, a lot of people that's in the Word, that's preaching the Word, hey, they could go out and do a whole lot of stuff and be famous in this world and be rich. Micaiah in the Bible, I'm sure they would have paid him if he would have just went along with the 400 prophets, right? But he wasn't looking for that, was he? He said, look, take me back to prison. Take me to prison. I don't care. I'm going to tell you the truth. That's it. Because he knew that it was better to sacrifice now than gaining something in this world than to lose his soul in the end. So that's what he said. Read 26 again.
For what is a man profited if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul?
Uh-huh.
Or what shall a man give in change for his soul?
See, you ain't got nothing you can give up for that. That should be the most important thing. So you got to be willing to trade whatever you can now to save it. So be willing to give up whatever it is, affiliations, things you like to do to keep your flesh in line. 27.
For the Son of Man shall come in the glory of his Father with his angels.
This one is going to be put up time. Go ahead.
And then he shall reward every man according to his work.
This when you're going to get paid. According to your works, he said. Now, Revelation 12, and we got one more little one after that. Revelation 12. Because for some, it's going to get all the way physical when it comes to staying in the spirit and avoiding the flesh. Giving up the weakness of the flesh. Just like in the Old Testament, Daniel and his 3 friends, they had to lay their life on the line for the Lord. Daniel went in the lion's den. His 3 friends, 3 Israelites, went in a furnace of fire. And they went in willingly. Knowing the consequences, they did contrary to what they said. It's just like they can say they're going to lock somebody up for preaching that the Bible says sodomite is wrong. Well, they might as well come get me. And all I got to do is flip over and read Romans 1, where he tell you a man with a man is unnatural. Or Leviticus 21, where he tell you man shall not lie with mankind as he lieth with womankind. What am I going to do with that? I can't take that out the Bible. And if we're going to preach the Bible, we can't act like it ain't in there. But that might be contrary to man law. Now, I don't know. They making them so quick, you can't keep up with it. Revelation 12 and 9. Go ahead.
And the dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world.
See, this when he got kicked out of heaven, and that's his job. He have deceived the whole world. He have done a good job at that. Go ahead.
He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him.
Go ahead.
And I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, now is come salvation and strength and the kingdom of our God and the power of his Christ. For the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accuses them before our God day and night. And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony.
See, that's how we going to overcome, but it ain't just going to be by the blood of the Lamb. See, we need the blood of the Lamb to overcome, but we still got to do our part, like we've been reading in this lesson. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. So the blood of the Lamb don't just make it give you a cakewalk in, but that's needed too. You got to have faith in Jesus, but you got to have some works to back it up. They overcame by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony. And what else?
And they loved not their lives unto death.
Oh, and they loved not their lives unto death. They loved not their lives unto death. What does that mean? That means, hey, they hated their life that was contrary to God. They was willing to let it go. And even if you had to give your life up physically, which some will, you would be willing to do that. The Lord will give you the spirit to deal with it, like he gave Jesus the spirit to deal with it. Jesus has some second thoughts, so ain't nothing wrong with saying, well, I don't know about that. Hey, I say that all the time. I ain't going to know about it until I know it actually got to happen. So he said, look, and they loved not their lives unto death. Revelation 2 and 1 verse 10. We're going to see he even tell you straight up that this going to happen to some. That's how I know it's going to happen. He ain't hiding it from you. He ain't like it might happen. We're going to see down the road. No, he telling you point blank. What? Verse 10.
Fear none of these things which they shall suffer, what thou shalt suffer. Mm-hmm. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison, that ye may be tried, and ye shall have tribulation 10 days. Mm-hmm. Be thou faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life.
Ooh, now he said, be thou faithful unto death. But see, the good thing, he said, I'm going to give you a crown of life. See, you got to be willing to let go whatever it is in this world. So now if the Lord is requiring some to give their life up physically, to let somebody kill them so they can be fulfilling God's will, you know you ain't going to get away with some little pity-anny stuff that you trying to hold on to, right? You know that ain't going to fly with the Lord. When he got some on this hand, he said, look, they gave their life up for me. John the Baptist got his head chopped off for being a servant of God. He ain't did nothing wrong to deserve that. He got his head chopped off for doing the right thing. Now, you're going to have John the Baptist over here saying, Lord, and he going to give him his crown of life, and then you're going to say, well, Lord, you know, I couldn't stop doing so-and-so. That was just too hard for me. You know you in trouble. Hope you got some understanding in Jesus' name.